Hi everyone, and thanks for attending today's undergraduate webinar for SACI Florence. If you don't know, my name is Rory Summers. I'm the undergraduate admissions counselor for SACI. So I work specifically with our semester and summer programs. Hang on one second, guys. Sorry about that, guys. So I actually am going to have to change this up a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and skip over the presentation, and we're gonna go right to our conversation with our recent alumni. So we have a recent alumni joining us, Kaylee, who did our fall 2016 program. Kaylee, do you want to say hi?
Hi, I'm excited to be here and talk about SACI. So.
Thank you for joining us. So I just wondered if you could go ahead and talk a little bit about your semester with SACI and sort of your experience with us.
Okay, it's a loaded topic. I studied there last fall, so in fall 2016, and was able to I took ceramics, painting, an art history course, Women in Arts in Italy, and another course that I can't remember off the top of my head right now. Oh, creative writing, and was able to go on a lot of the field trips. One of the art history teachers does a field trip almost every weekend, so I was able to travel around Italy, you know, using stuff that you already pay for most of those trips. So that was really cool. I'm not sure what else I should say here in this.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you first find out about SACI?
I found out about SACI through my study abroad office. I am currently a student at University of Nebraska at Omaha. And I was trying to find a study abroad program. I knew I wanted to study in Italy, and I knew I wanted to study art. And through that, my study abroad advisor told me about SACI, and it fit perfectly with exactly what I wanted to study, where, and the program involved in that. So.
And what classes did you take while you were over at SACI, and did they kind of fulfill any requirements for you over at University of Nebraska, or were they just sort of fun classes that you were taking?
They all fulfilled credit requirements for my degree. I'm doing a studio art degree. And they were all fun as well. So again, I took beginning painting, creative writing, and women in the arts and excuse me. And like I said, all of those were able to transfer back. I worked really closely with my advisor here in Nebraska to make sure that everything that I was taking there would transfer back. I did take about a half a semester of the painting conservation class. Um, and so I learned a lot about that kind of stuff. And I ended up withdrawing, partially because it's a lot of responsibility to touch like thousands year old paintings. Um, and it didn't transfer, the credit didn't transfer. So I really enjoyed learning and auditing that class. But I didn't actually end up finishing it. But yeah.
So with the classes that you chose, were they classes that were available at your home university, but you really just wanted to take in Florence, or were the SACI courses sort of something that really you only had this one opportunity to take classes in that area? Obviously, the art history class was probably a once in a lifetime opportunity to be on site in Florence, but other classes like ceramics that you were taking, was that something that was only offered for you in Florence, or just something you wanted to take there?
All of the classes that I took were, other than the art history course, was that one we don't have here at my university. Some Italian Renaissance or history courses related to Italy, but nothing about women in the arts in Italy, which I thought was a really cool course. We do have ceramics, we do have painting. Um, I'm really excited that I got to work like ceramics in Italy is really cool. It's a different type of clay that we use there than we do at my school. Um, and it's a different technique as well. We have a lot of the instructors at SACI are, you know, Italian born, so they're Italian raised and they teach you the Italian way. Um, well, the experience is something that I would never get here. Um, but it's classes that they do offer here. I'm glad that I got the chance to take them in Italy, in Florence, especially with the history of art that is in Florence, and being able to see, you know, when you're learning about oil painting, you can go and you can see some of the masters and their paintings, you know, just down the street at whatever museum for the day. So it's really, that's a part of it that I wouldn't get to do in Nebraska.
Great. So moving on a little bit from classes, can you talk a little bit about your living conditions at SACI? Were you staying in SACI housing? What was that like? Roommates, the food situation, kind of just in general, what your daily living was like.
I did live in Sachi housing. We lived very close to the Central Market in Florence. Um, we lived like a half a block away from a grocery store, so we had the opportunity to purchase food from the market, fresh food from the market, you know, like things at the grocery store. They don't have a lot of frozen goods, but our freezer wasn't very big in our apartment, so that's okay. So we did a lot of cooking. It shared a room with another girl, and then we had two other individual rooms. So I had three roommates. Um, and I actually, just this past weekend, one of my roommates that I met at Sachi came to visit me here in Nebraska. So I built those lifelong relationships with my roommates and other classmates at Sachi. Um, the housing was awesome. I kind of expected it to not be as nice or updated as it was. I went in expecting a tiny little apartment because everything I saw was like little studio apartments, and most of the living conditions that I've seen in Italy are very small compared to here in America. Um, but our apartment was huge. My room was huge, and it was very modernized. I wish we had a balcony. That was the only thing we didn't have that I, you know, say I was disappointed about. Um, but as far as living in Italy, Sachi really helped make it very simple. Through their orientation process, they gave us ideas on restaurants and supermarkets and um, different places to go and ways to make it so that you weren't spending your 4 months um, going out to eat every day or spending all of your money um, just doing that, because that can get expensive. So is it was like living here, I guess. I don't know. Not much different. A lot of stairs. That's about all I remember.
Um, how much traveling did you get to do outside of the program? What kind of places were you able to visit if you went anywhere?
I did a lot of, like I said, the trips with Helen Watterson, who's one of the art history teachers there. Did a few of the weekend trips with her as far as they were like Saturday where we'd leave at 7 in the morning and get home around 7 at night. Um, and then as far as like personal travel, I just stayed within Italy. I got the chance to go to Cinque Terre, which is on the west coast of Italy. It's five little towns, and it's just beautiful as far as blue ocean, like colorful apartment housing on cliffs. Um, and then I got the chance to go to the east side and hang out on the beach in Cesenatico and a couple different small towns around Florence, as far as Fiesole and so. So minimal traveling and all within Italy. But I was really taking in a lot of Florence at the time too. Like I knew I've been to other places in Europe already and I really just wanted to experience living in Florence.
Do you feel like having spent a semester in Florence, you did become part of the community? Like it wasn't just a travel experience where you were a tourist, but by the end you felt sort of like you belonged?
I made friends within the SACI community, as far as my classmates and roommates, and was able to make friends outside of that as well. I will say that was a lot of my own doing as far as like searching that stuff out. I think Sachi has gotten better at it since I was there from what I've heard, but there wasn't a lot of community involvement when I was at Sachi. It was more about program involvement and class involvement. So I got the chance to go out into the community and make new friends. And I have Italian friends. I have, people that were living in Florence that were from England and um, in different countries. So it was really cool to be able to make those friends. And now I have, plans to go visit them in Italy again and all of that stuff. So I was able to immerse myself into that culture and into that community and really get to see another side of it other than just the Sachi community. So it's very cool to me that I have friends, in all parts of the world now.
If you have one recommendation for students going over to Sachi, and it could be anything from travel to food to classes to take, or anything like that, what would you tell students they actually absolutely have to do during their Sachi experience?
Eat gelato every day. No, I think uh, definitely going on the trips with Helen. She can be a bit overwhelming because she is a super genius with all of her information. And they're very long trips. Um, but like I said, they're usually included in your school fees and everything's paid for. And you learn so much and you get to see so much of Italy. I would say really plan on going on those Saturday trips and utilizing that time.
Awesome. Anything else? Anything that I haven't thought to ask you that you feel like you want to impart your knowledge onto future Sachi students?
Um, I would just say like learn some Italian before you go, some basic Italian. Um, because it will make your stay a little bit easier. They do have Italian classes and I was able to hook up with I had an Italian language partner. Um, and so I got to practice that Italian and they got to practice their English. So it was, that was a really cool experience. I wish that I had learned more prior to going. Because I think it wasn't until like the last month that I was there that I was able to, you know, order things at the grocery store, at a restaurant. So the first few months it was kind of like, I don't know what to say, so I'll use hand gestures and hopefully you figure it out. So learn some Italian.
I just noticed that we had a question from one of the viewers. They asked, can you go on the trips with Helen even if you're not taking her art history course? So I know you were in her art history course, so that was included. I don't, was it like this for you? I know we've started opening them up to non-students. Did you find that you had non-students that participated on those trips?
Yes. For a lot of her classes, they are required. You'll have like one or two trips that are required to go to if you're in her class. If you're not in her class, though, and it usually how it works is if it's required for your class, like Bologna is usually required, um, then there's so many spots. There's 10 spots for you to sign up in. And then the extra spots that are open will be open to SACI students. If they don't take it, then other people can take those spots. But it kind of goes in a line of SACI students first, and then if there's still space, other people can go.
Yeah, and just to add to that, they're usually those spots for students outside of Helen's classes are usually free or just a really small fee. Typically just something that covers your lunch or something like that. So it's actually pretty inexpensive, and as far as traveling around Italy goes, and then you get to go with somebody who is basically a walking dictionary. And wherever you're going, you're going to learn a lot about, instead of just kind of traveling there on your own and not really knowing what you're looking at. Okay, so one last question that I had for you. You went during the fall. I don't know if that was a conscious decision or just sort of the only time that worked for you. Is there anything special about going in the fall that you think students should know about? Or is it really just a matter of convenience, and whenever you can get to Florence, it's going to be a great experience?
I think anytime you go, it will be a great experience. It was more about what worked with my schedule here at UNO. And at that time, like that's just kind of when it worked. I will say the weather was awesome. It was fairly warm up until about November, December. It got a little chilly, but it never got really cold, which was nice. And then in the fall, when you go, you have the Christmas markets in December, November and December. So when you're coming back, you know, you can bring your family gifts. Like if you have your siblings or your parents or whatever that you're getting gifts for. They have like a bunch of handmade soap at the Christmas markets usually. And so that's kind of what I got everybody here back home for Christmas. So it's a really cool experience to go and like see those. A lot of more German Christmas markets. So they have like bratwurst and try. And so that was the really cool part about going in the fall, I guess. But I'm sure there's a ton of stuff to do in Florence in every season. So
awesome. Well, thank you. I don't see any other questions right now. If anybody watching does have questions for me as the admissions counselor, or Kaylee as the recent alumni, you should obviously have my email address since you received a link to this. Feel free to email me at any time. If the question's for me, I can obviously answer it. If the question's for Kaylee, I can pass it on to her and connect you guys to get that question answered. But I wanted to thank you for joining me again. This is the second one that you've done, and you've been wonderful each time. And I hope that our viewers were able to get a little bit more of an impression of the SACI experience.
Awesome. Thank you so much for letting me be involved. So.
Absolutely. Once again, thanks everyone for joining us today. And I hope that if you have any questions, I'll be seeing your emails, or if you're still thinking about applying, hopefully you'll be thinking about submitting your application soon. We still do have about 2 weeks left until the deadline for spring. So if you're still thinking that you really want to go abroad as soon as possible, you still have a little bit of time to apply for the spring. If not, there's definitely still plenty of time for the summer and fall. So hope to work with all of you soon, and thanks again to our recent alumni. Have a great day, everyone.